So Ubisoft said something really stupid recently, and I want to talk about it. In an interview with GameIndustry.biz, Philip Tremblay, the director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, was talking about Ubisoft's newly rebranded subscription services, Ubisoft Plus Premium and Ubisoft Plus Classics, two subscriptions I will never pay for. During the interview, while talking about wanting to grow Ubi's subscriber base on PC, he had this to say. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game, so it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. Now, I know that was a lot, but that entire paragraph basically boils down to this last line. Feeling comfortable with not owning your games. I'm going to cordially request that you go fuck yourself. And I think most of the internet found this to be just about the most out of touch statement that an executive could make. And especially coming from Ubisoft. Phil, may I call you Phil? You work for one of, if not the most hated companies in the gaming industry. You have to be aware that the public's perception of your company is, how do we make the most amount of money with the least amount of effort? You are not in the position to make this statement. He goes on to say, I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. Aw, you're so cute and relatable. But as people embrace that model, they will see that these games will exist. The service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. The games will exist. Will they though? How can you guarantee that? What if I play a game through a subscription service and I absolutely fall in love with it? It's my new favorite game and I don't even have to buy it because I essentially got it for free through my subscription. But then a few years down the road, that subscription service removes that game, which it will. You can't keep every game forever. And maybe it's an indie game and its studio shut down, so they had to discontinue all their games. Well, then that game doesn't exist anymore. If I didn't purchase it when I had the chance, I'm shit out of luck. Also saying the service will continue is a bit of wishful thinking because you can't guarantee that either, especially for Ubisoft. You need to keep providing value for players so that they stick around long term and keep funding your service. Xbox can get away with Game Pass because it's Microsoft. They literally own everything. They can basically put whatever game they want on their platform. Ubisoft can't. You can only include games that Ubisoft owns, and I hate to break it to you, but you don't have that many games that people will pay a monthly subscription for. If they like it, they probably actually own it. I think the reason the headline, "Get comfortable not owning your games," struck a chord with me and so many others is with the shift to mostly digital content today, it's becoming more and more clear that we really don't own our digital content, at least not permanently. Sony recently got into some controversy when they announced that due to the end of a licensing agreement, any previously purchased Discovery content on PlayStation would be removed from users' libraries. That doesn't mean that they'll no longer be available for purchase. That means that the content that you already paid for, that you supposedly own, is just gone. You can't watch it anymore. You don't get a refund for it. It does not exist. Now, Sony ended up walking back this decision, but it just goes to show that at any time, these corporations can decide to take away a product that you purchased because it lives on their platform. That sucks. I will never be comfortable with that. When I purchase a game, whether it be physical or digital, I expect to be able to play that game whenever I want for as long as I own the platform I bought it on. Now, what this Ubisoft comment and this situation from Sony is telling me is that unless I physically have the disc for the content in my hand, I don't really own it. So outside of the whole not owning your games thing, this article was supposed to be about Ubisoft's subscription service and how they believe that streaming should be the new standard way to access games the way it is with television and movies. But gaming is not interchangeable with movies and TV, and there are several reasons why a gaming version of this service does not work and likely will never work. I think Sven Vinke, director of Baldur's Gate 3 and Anointed Knight of Larian Studios, said it best in this Twitter thread. Whatever the future of games looks like, Content will always be king, but it's going to be a lot harder to get good content if subscription becomes the dominant model and a select group gets to decide what goes to market and what not. Direct from developer to player is the way. Getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible, and idealism needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being a cost to benefit analysis exercise intended to maximize profit. There's nothing wrong with that, but it may not become a monopoly of subscription services. We are already all dependent on a select group of digital distribution platforms, and discoverability is brutal. Should those platforms all switch to subscription, it'll become savage. In such a world, by definition, the preference of the subscription service will determine what games get made. Trust me, you really don't want that. And he's right. I don't want that. And neither do you. If all gaming is distributed exclusively through subscription services run by megacorporations, then players will have no say in what games get made. Old men in suits will. The gaming space will become a cesspool of Call of Duties and FIFAs continuing to fart out mediocre reskins and making all the money in the world, while beautiful, moving indie games made by small, passionate development teams won't see the light of day because they won't be profitable under this subscription ecosystem. Video games as an art form will cease to exist. I know I kind of started this video by shitting on this random Ubisoft executive, and maybe that's not exactly fair of me. Sorry about that, Phil. If you're watching this, I don't hate you. I just disagree with your vision for the future of video games. I believe there is a place for streaming in the gaming space, but it can never be the primary way that people play their games. There will always be obstacles that can't be overcome by every player or even every company. Some players may not have a strong enough dedicated internet connection to stream a game through a service, or a smaller studio may not have the server strength to keep up with the demands of a live service game. Or there may be a service that can afford one game but not its sequels, so you have to sign up for a different service in order to play the entire series. Donkey made a great video recently about this exact thing happening with movies and television. We may not have a need for physical CDs and DVDs anymore, but games are different. There will always be a need for physical games as long as the consoles we're playing them on allow for it. So just keep giving us the option to play games how we want and let us choose. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed hearing me rant about video games, go ahead and subscribe because I've got more videos in the works. Check us out on Twitch where we're streaming every Sunday. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and we have merch. I'm actually wearing a piece of it right now. So if you want to pick something up, the link is in the description. Check out my podcast where me and my buddy Justin rant about video games instead of me doing it alone in this room. I also filmed the podcast in this room, so that made no sense. A special thank you to our patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And finally, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time.